You are watching Places. Every Tuesday, we bring you an insightful look into fascinating events from all around the world. Today, we're looking at why China is building empty cities. Welcome to Alux.com, the place where future billionaires come to get inspired. Hello, Aluxers, and welcome back. Today we're going to explore the secret behind the massive empty cities that China is building in the last few years. Sprawling over thousands of square feet, these megacities have the potential to be a home to millions of people, but in reality, there are hardly any people living in them. So let us understand why the Chinese are building these ghost cities, even if there's no one living in them. Introduction. We're all aware that ever since the history of humankind, cities are normally built around an abundance of resources like clean drinking water, or considering the modern times, the availability of opportunities like mega manufacturing sites or technology hubs, which create jobs. But China seems to have been playing by a different set of rules when it comes to building new cities. Today, there are 662 cities in China, out of which roughly 50 cities are considered to be ghost cities, since the occupancy rate is way lower than their actual potential. These cities are estimated to have empty properties in order of 64 million, whereas the total population of China is 1.42 billion. The past. One might think that these ghost cities are a recent Chinese phenomenon, but if we take a look at China's infrastructural development in the last few decades, it turns out to be a proven strategy for urbanization. Cities like Shenzhen and Pudong, which were considered ghost cities a few years back, are now thriving and have become profit centers for China. Just to give you an idea, the city of Pudong, which was considered to be empty back in 1993, has an occupancy rate of 99% today and is considered to be the most populated district in Shanghai. While Shenzhen, again a former ghost city in southern China, is today considered to be a Silicon Valley of tech hardware. Remember how we said the Chinese play by a different set of rules when it comes to building their cities? Here's the rule they follow. Build a city, bring a factory near or within that city, and people will come on their own. However bizarre it may sound, this reverse engineering has worked for the Chinese in the past, and we're about to get into the hows and whys behind it. But first, we'd like to share a traveling tip for those of you planning to visit China anytime soon. You might be aware of their internet policy, meaning you won't be able to access any of the free platforms you currently use, but we have you covered. That's why we recommend using a VPN. It's a super easy to use piece of software that protects your data online so the government or other companies can't spy on you and you can enjoy the internet you know and love. We partnered with the great folks at NordVPN to bring you an amazing offer. If you go to Alux.com/VPN and sign up using the code ALUX, you'll get 75% off a 3-year plan and a full month for free to see if you find it valuable. Protect yourself today on the internet by going to Alux.com/VPN. How it works in China. You might be wondering, why would the Chinese people abandon their native homes and move to these empty cities? But in the past, government initiatives like providing subsidized transport facilities, lowering the rent rates, and the creation of jobs by influencing big fat manufacturers to set up a factory within the ghost city have helped to fill up these empty spaces. Also, factors like a volatile domestic stock market, unattractive interest rates offered by banks, and zero property tax have made real estate a major investment option within the country. This has led to a rise in the number of second- and third-time home buyers in China, along with a rise in the number of ghost cities. Speaking of places where rich Asians are investing in real estate, you can check out our video called Why London is Filled with Empty Homes by clicking in the top right corner. Why it works in China. In China, the government owns all the land within the borders of the country, and any piece of land can be taken on lease from the government for a maximum period of 70 years. This aspect is particularly important since no matter whether ghost cities are inhabited or not, the land beneath them will always be the government's property in the long term. Also, the term city in China is a legal entity itself in form of a municipality and exercises control over everything within its boundaries, including the funds received from taxes, which makes it less dependent on the funds received from central government in China, and so more lucrative than conserving farmland for those exercising control over it. How does this impact the locals? With cities spreading rapidly across the country, it's estimated the urban population in China will be around 1 billion in the next 15 years. At present, the local governments of these empty cities are using the cities as money-printing machines and are generating money through land sales, whereas young Chinese people who are planning to get married are buying them to showcase their financial stability in a race to get a better wife. Now, one might think that things are working fine for both parties, but there have been several instances where people have been forced by the government to vacate their ancestral homes, and if they didn't budge, cities are built around them. Also, on average, these empty properties have been valued in a range of $500,000 to $1 million US, whereas the average monthly income of a common man in China is $1,100 US, which again makes it difficult for locals to buy them without substantial amounts of debt. How does this impact the world? Countries like Australia, who are major exporters of resources like iron ore, are more than happy with the rising number of ghost cities. But for countries like the USA, who already have suffered in the past due to the loss of manufacturing jobs to China, they might have other views. Also, foreigners who have worked or studied in China for the last 1 year are allowed to own property in China. But these foreigners can only buy one residential property, and they are not allowed to rent it out. So if you're planning to invest in these ghost cities, you better think it through. Will it work in the future? Although building ghost cities has led to economic booms and urbanization in the past, in the future, this model of development might not sustain. For example, consider the city of Ordos, one of the famous ghost cities in Inner Mongolia. This city was built eyeing up jobs that would be created through coal extraction in the region and still continues to be a ghost city due to the crash in the demand for coal and a lack of stable job opportunities. Also, there is a supply chain issue that needs to be addressed. The amount of raw materials used for building these cities is gigantic. It's estimated that the amount of raw materials used by China in the last 3 decades is equivalent to the amount of cement used by the USA in the entire 20th century. Thus, in the long run, the rising price in raw materials may not justify the scale of ongoing construction. Conclusion. One might think that building empty spaces on such a large scale without a substantial demand does not make economic sense. But in reality, Beijing is betting on the income generated through the debt received from the land sales. The ghost cities have helped in boosting China's economy in the past, but in the future, they may not help to sustain the economy. In 2018, China's economic growth rate was 6.6%, one of the lowest after the year 1990, and research has shown that China's economy growth is cooling. Looks like it's time for China to rewrite the rules once again. Question. Well, Aluxers, what do you think? If given a chance, would you like to become one of the early residents of a ghost city? And because we know we have such a large international audience, we're curious. Are there any ghost cities in your country or your neighborhood? Let us know in the comments below. And as a thank you for watching this video all the way to the end, you know what that means. Bonus. In Tiandusheng, one of the ghost cities in China, you can find the replica of the entire city of Paris, including the key attraction, the Eiffel Tower. complete with buildings built in French architecture style, with fountains and gardens surrounding them. You'll think you're actually in Paris, except for the fact that, unlike Paris, it's hardly crowded. I guess time will tell if this city gets occupied or not, but at present, this place has become a popular attraction for young Chinese couples getting married to get the perfect wedding photograph. Thank you for spending some time with us, Aluxers. Make sure to subscribe so you never miss another video. We also handpicked these videos for you to watch next. As always, the conversation continues on social media. Thanks again, and we can't wait to have you back tomorrow.